To go. Okay, call the meeting to order. Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Lake Bluff Architectural Board of Review for June 6, 2023. If you'd call the roll, please, Mike.
Sure. Member Dahlman.
Here.
Member Deegan.
Here.
Member Kerouac.
Here.
Chair Hunter. And members Cottrell and Stradiff are absent, but we have a quorum.
Okay, good. All right, second item is the consideration of the Architectural Board Review minutes for last month. Anybody have any comments? You were the only one that was here besides me, Neil.
Yeah, I move they be approved, but I don't know who could second it.
I can I?
Okay.
No, I don't think you can.
can't.
I think someone else has to.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you or Matt could second it whether you were here or not.
I can second it. Then.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Done.
Okay, next is the,
So all in favor?
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
all in favor.
Okay.
We doing votes?
Any opposed? I think we can do voice on the minutes.
Okay.
Yep.
All in
Okay,
favor?
so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Opposed? No.
okay. Motion passes.
Okay. Moving on. Is anybody in the audience, and I don't think there is, that is here for some non-agenda items, or if there's anybody online?
There's nobody online.
Okay, then we'll move right on to the order of business, which is the design review for the exterior changes at Central Lake County Jawa pumping station at Blodgett.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having us and for considering our improvements at our raw water pumping station here in Lake Bluff. Are you able, oh, am I just going off?
Oh, I can, yep, let me share the screen and put that up. Oh,
I don't mind going off the packet if it's easier.
that's okay, we'll do that, so.
Sworn in.
No, we don't, actually, we don't have to swear people in anymore because with our code changes, it's not a public hearing anymore. It's just a public
Perfect.
meeting, so we don't have to do that.
So great.
For these, yep.
Good.
But thanks for checking anyway to make sure we're doing it right.
Yeah.
Making sure you're on your game.
Yep.
All right, if you wouldn't mind advancing the slide there.
Sure.
So tonight, we're just going to go over some key objectives, which will review the project and what's included. We will talk about the exterior improvements and then give you a chance to ask any questions that you would like to. Next slide.
Sure.
So this is the project area. The location of the project is our raw water pump station. That's located at 700 East Blodgett Drive, and that is just about on the bluff of the lake. We've got a vineyard next to us, between us and the lake. And we're very fortunate to be at that location for our pumping station. So the next slide, we'll talk about our project improvements. First being the update of our chemical feed system. We're updating from a potassium permanganate chemical, which comes as a purple crystalline powder form, and we're updating that to a sodium permanganate, which is a liquid form of a very similar chemical. They do the same thing. We feed this chemical all the way out to our intake structure, 3,000 feet out in the lake, where quagga and zebra mussels really love to grab a hold of and colonize on everything out in the lake. This deters them from colonizing on our intake and limiting our supply. Next, we will be updating our chemical room to house that feeding system. We'll be adding an exhaust fan for that. I'm still on the same slide, sorry.
Okay.
Installing a new exhaust fan for that chemical room, and the overall main objective of the project itself is to finally add our fifth and final raw water pump, and that will increase our capacity and our redundancy at that station. We'll move one back to the site map,
Okay.
just to give you an idea of the surroundings of the booster station or the raw water pumping station. We're incredibly lucky to have this property. It's amazingly beautiful. And as you can see, it's almost completely surrounded by trees, which block its view from the neighboring community. We are 200 feet away from the neighboring structure, or at least the improvements will be 200 feet away from any neighboring structure. And again, it's surrounded by trees and shrubs, and on the north and east side by a pretty tall berm as well. The next slide zooms in, and you can see that this is just the plan view of what we're going to do and the locations of each. So on the northeast side, we're going to be extending the driveway pavement, and that's to allow access to a new chemical fill station where we'll be bringing in liquid sodium permanganate and connecting to a pipe on the side there. And then we'll be adding a new exhaust fan in the northeast corner of the property. And the next slide just shows you what those locations look like with all the trees and foliage up like it is now. So we'll talk about each of the improvements. The next page would show you the extent of the driveway, which will be a 12 by 20 asphalt extension. And again, that's to allow access for the permanganate fill station. And the next page will show you a little detail of that fill station. It's a stainless steel pipe with a fitting for connecting to at the end. It's stainless steel. This will be about 4 feet off the ground. And again, trees and berm on the north side would make this invisible to anyone on the neighboring property. The next slide shows the location of the new exhaust fan, which is on the northeast corner. It's very near our generator heat exchanger. I think it will be very well, it'll blend in with that heat exchanger quite well. And again, won't be really visible unless you're picking grapes in the vineyard, probably. The next slide shows how tall this exhaust fan really is, and it is a tall fan, or at least the discharge of the fan is 10 feet tall, and that's just really to get any exhaust up higher than any person would be at the property. And that's just a code requirement. We have added a silencer to reduce the noise levels, and the included noise model assures us that we will meet noise regulations that the state has for the property at the property line. I went through that pretty quick. Does anyone have any questions?
How often do you use the fill station? Is that at once a week, once a
Oh,
month?
no, I believe the fill station, well, first, the fill station is only in use in the warmer months.
Okay.
We don't feed it during the winter. Usually we're feeding from now, or at least May through the end of September. And during that time, we expect a couple to a few, or several deliveries. I'm thinking maybe 3 or 4.
Okay, just curious, thanks.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Can you go back to one of the site plans that shows where the exhaust fan is?
Mike?
Let's see, I'll go back a little further. Yeah.
That'll do.
Well, yeah, right.
Oh, that one also.
Well, or actually, the best one is probably that one.
Just south of the exhaust fan, there's a rectangle, and I don't know what that is.
The long, tall, skinny
Yeah.
rectangle? Sure. So that rectangle, I believe, is denoting an airway. So it's basically a long grate that allows air in and out to the level below for the generator. So the generator is actually housed one floor below, about 20 feet.
So it's a surface level grate.
That is a surface level grate, but not as large as that grate shows, but there is a heat exchanger that protrudes up from there. And so that is also in that location.
The reason I'm asking is, I'm wondering, I don't know the location underground or how important it is to be there, but I do know the neighbors that live just to the southeast of that.
Yes.
And even though with the sound and everything, it'll satisfy the state requirements, I don't know what the state requirements sound like.
Oh, sure.
But what I was wondering is it practical at all to take the exhaust fan and move it to the west so that it's behind the building instead of out in the open? I mean, it depends on what's underneath and what it's,
Yes. So we can definitely look into that.
Actually, I think if you go to the more detailed, there's that slide that shows the more accurate version, I don't know which direction it is.
That,
A little farther.
Yeah, keep going, sorry, there's
I think it's two more.
here we go.
There we go.
So so that one shows the exact, sorry, Jared with CDM Smith.
Sure.
And that's showing, so we come out of this airway, we come over, we stay away from the setback of the property line, and we're really back in this corner. So you can see the building extends this way. We're really hidden from the street, as much as we can be there. And then this area right here is a brick patio, but it's a removable brick so that someday the generator is below that. So if they need to get to the generator, like the bricks could be removed, they could take the generator out for replacement or maintenance. So we try to kind of fit it back there without encumbering where that generator spot is as well. If that makes sense. Yeah, no, good, yeah, none of this is super clear on the plan, so, good question.
is there any kind of an exhaust unit there now?
No, not for this purpose. This would be a new exhaust for the new chemical room for housing the sodium
Okay.
permanganate.
Does it exhaust odors or just, what does it exhaust?
It would exhaust any off-gassing of the chemical. I think code requires us to keep that room
Negative, yeah. So
at
it's
negative
a-
pressure.
Currently, the main reason for this chemical change is just health and safety improvements. Currently, discussing Java gets deliveries of big pallets of powder bags that then they have to go down and mix in this basement level. It's a 30-year-old building, so it wasn't designed to today's chemical room code. So we're updating that. Part of the code is that there has to be negative pressure in that chemical room. So we're building a new room in this basement level. And there's just a duct that goes outside. Basically, it's a little bigger than your bathroom fan. It's gonna be running all the time to make sure if there's ever a spill or some type of issue in that room, that chemical, that off gas would be taken out. But in normal situations, these are enclosed containers. It's not an open chemical in the room. There's a
Correct.
plastic
Tanks.
tank
Uh,
where they sit.
To directly answer your question, the safety data sheet for this chemical says that it is odorless.
Okay.
Yeah, so no odor, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's a good. And then does the exhaust fan run all the time or just during the emergency?
Does.
All the
It
time?
runs
So it's,
100% of the time.
and where's the motor for the exhaust fan? Is that inline?
The motor is
inside?
it's at the base of it, so if
I'm sure
if
it's
you
in
could
that
go
section.
to the, yeah, if you
Yeah.
could go right there. So,
Yep, sure. So then with the silencer,
the silencer is integrated
Yeah.
in the discharge.
okay.
And it takes it from, well, it lowers the sound similar to a vehicle muffler.
Yeah.
If you look at, I think the next 5 or 6 pages are, the agency commissioned a sound noise study. So they modeled this unit and make sure it would be, exceeding any ordinances. And with this silencer, it's just a pretty quiet unit. I don't think you'd notice it.
in the stack that I see the picture of, where is the silencer?
It is,
Yeah, it's this whole,
It's like a liner kind of a thing.
little unit here. So
Oh, the
it
whole
goes
unit.
through here, and it's got some like insulation in it, but it's, with no silencer, it's a smaller exhaust. The silencer is bigger, it's got a lot of insulation to kind of suck up that sound.
So I'm looking at the engineering report on the sound, and there's 3 different diagrams, and actually there's more than that. But there's a lot of different numbers associated with the property line that Neil's concerned about. you know, which is right. I mean, I assume they're all right under different conditions.
Yes, so each of, did I create that?
Yeah, so each, and then I don't know, Mike, if you could go to maybe that first page of that sound study.
Sure.
So the reason that grants are deriving new studies is relatively complicated. And so they're checking all these different decibel levels at different noise frequencies, or what all the different maps are showing. I think probably the first page even, there's like an executive summary that summarizes their findings. But yeah, then there's a bunch of different maps that are all just at different octave bands, and then they compare daytime, nighttime.
If you wanna, I can describe each one a little bit until you're satisfied. If you wanna go forward to the first model. Okay, so each of these models is showing the levels of how loud each sound is at the pitch. So it's the 31.5 hertz is a very low, deep sound. And at the 31.5 hertz, the kind of bright green level of sound or decibel is what they found at the property line, which is 36 to 40 decibels. And that is, I believe, 20 to 25 decibels lower than the state requirement, which is described on the first page in that chart. So the nighttime decibel is 69, and this is showing that the decibels leaving the property would be 36 to 40. And then as you go down, you can see that as the pitch of the sound gets higher in quality or tone, it's actually quieter as it leaves the property. And that becomes more apparent the further down you go. So if you go down probably another 2 figures, and there you go. So
The acceptable decibel levels at the higher pitches goes down. So like it lists the latest one at the 250 hertz range, the acceptable level is 54. I would have shown it that, and all these different these different octave bands that we're meeting marks in those bands.
You know, it's quiet, more or less.
It's quiet.
Will it be a noticeably new sound for the neighborhood, though? I mean, we had things with the middle school, you know, where they say, okay, everything's acceptable, but neighbors are still hearing a new sound, right? There's a constant hum, or even though it's acceptable, that always doesn't mean it's, you know,
agreeable,
thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure we're not, because there's, you know, there's a home for sale, right, just north of there, in the $13 million range, so I'm sure they're, you know, so I don't want to, you know, I would just hate to have some kind of conflict because all of a sudden there's a new thing, right?
Right.
So would this be a noticeably new sound for the neighborhood, if that's one way to ask the question?
I can only answer what's in the model, which
Yeah.
only states that it would meet the state requirement. So I don't actually know the quality or volume that actually would be.
So if there was some sense, and I don't, you know, it's hard for us to appreciate what 30 decibel feels like 100 yards away, right? I mean, it could be very, but if there is a situation where this is installed and someone comes to us and says, we have this noticeable, our dog's freaking, whatever it is there a second level that we could go to for noise attenuation?
Yes, so I believe we would start to look into somewhat of a noise barrier.
Okay.
That we could potentially add on to the project at your request.
Yep.
And I believe we might even just be able to do a small enclosure around it to better attenuate it. I have been in contact with the neighbor to the south. He's been extremely nice to us, even when there was very loud noise with some of the compressors and vacuums that were out there during the sandblasting and painting. And he is very concerned about the sound. I did share a lot of this information with him, and he seemed pretty happy with it, but we're absolutely willing to revisit it if there are any issues.
Okay.
I agree with what Matt said. The neighbor that we're talking about, this is the corner of his property right here.
Yes,
So if the low sounds are the ones that he might hear, the higher ones on the thing.
correct.
But I think your comment a minute ago about, you know, if once it's built, if it is objectionable, that you'll work with them, I think that's great.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other, Ed, you have anything?
I think Matt unearthed everything that I was interested in, so that would be if it is a problem going forward, that they would have some sort of remedy in place to be able to do it.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, then we need a motion.
Are we approving or are we?
Approving, yes.
Yeah. I move to approve the raw water pump station improvements as submitted.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay. Member Dahlman,
Aye.
Member Deegan,
Aye.
Member Kerouac.
Can I add an addendum to that? That
Sure.
they will revisit the sound issue if it's brought up by any citizens of the area.
Sure.
Thanks.
And Matt, do you accept the revision for, or Ed, I mean?
Yes.
For your second?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I approve. Aye.
Okay, well, let me do the roll call again.
Okay.
Okay, so Member Dahlman,
Aye.
Member Deegan,
Aye.
Member Kerouac.
Aye.
And Chair Hunter.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Sure. Thank you, guys.
Okay, next is the design review for consideration of a sign permit for Forest North Rental at 101 Waukegan Road.
Neighbor's house. House is under.
Richard, you want to
Oh, wow.
introduce yourself and where you're from?
Sure, I'm Rich Rosenblatt. I'm a general dentist here in Lake Forest presently, and we are about to move our practice over to 101 North Waukegan Road. And so I'm here to discuss some signage that we hope to be able to get on the building.
Okay, I'm going to start off by asking you a question.
Sure.
When I first saw this, I said, okay, that's your standard logo, that's what you've got,
Yep.
over in Lake Forest. But then I got thinking about the building, and I was just asking Mike, when we originally, I'm the only one here that did that, but when we okayed that building to be built, all the signage is on the glass. There's no signs on the building at all, and I'm just bringing that up. Is this something that you really want to do? I don't think there's nothing that we can say that says, you can't do this. My fear is that if you do it, then everybody else will want to do it at some point in time.
Bob, I thought there was something that the landlord had to approve it. in writing.
Well, that was a couple of landlords ago.
So that was a specific
I
building?
think
not
so. I
a
think
rebuild.
that was the original plan, just like Carriageway had the same kind of a thing. They originally had to prove everything. So I'm just bringing that up for anybody's consideration.
And I understand where you're coming from, for sure, on that, because, we thought the same thing a little bit when we did this, but the big thing for us, where I'm at right now, which is on Western Avenue, and we have my big name up on the top of the building, so when people drive by, they can see it. And we have an older population in my practice, and so a lot of them are really a little bit nervous about, like, I don't know where this is, how am I gonna find it? And you can kind of see the signage, but it's not very, easy to know exactly where it is, because we're in the very back corner, south facing. You have to go around to the side, and so it's very, you're going to be walking into different doors and not in this, especially the first time. And so we get a lot of, well, I'm in Heinens. Well, I'm next to Heinens. Well, where next to Heinens? Have you ever heard of Carriage Point? No, I don't know what that is. And so there's a lot of concern on the patient side. And so just to put something up and, listen, we can do something where it doesn't necessarily have to be white in the background either. We can mute it out a little bit to try to make it maybe blend in a smidge with the bricks or make it a little bit more transparent, so to speak, but the logo, so at least it's just over the door. So when you pull around that corner, here it, because it is literally all the way, and there's nothing else over there, but there's a bunch of doors and you don't know which one is which. And so it's a little confusing.
I understand that. Yeah, I'm just bringing that up.
I understand exactly what you're bringing up, and I don't want to do anything to sully the building per se, and so which is why we tried to keep it simple and not anything crazy, and just, a logo that we've had in the area for 16 years now, just is something that's recognizable enough that people can walk by and be like, okay, now I know exactly where it is.
Okay, anybody's got any thoughts? I mean, otherwise, it meets with the sign code, fine. I'm just concerned about the overall thing. Now, the other thing that you didn't include, are you gonna put your name on the monument sign out by the driveway?
There is, I believe they've already put Forest North Dental out on the monument sign.
It's already out
I
there?
believe it's already out there.
Oh, okay.
So you can see it kind of driving in, but even when you're coming in, it doesn't, there's a lot of buildings along the way and there's no, it's still confusing.
What's anybody think?
Does the landlord know that you're doing it?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm having the same concern that you mentioned, Bob, that it will be the only sign on the exterior of the building. But I understand your concern about how people find you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a business and, I'm not looking to throw a big advertising thing up. We're not throwing anything out along the street on Waukegan Road or anything like that lights up or anything along those lines. We just wanted something that has, the building is it's a very pretty building, but it's just all brick and it's hard to see in the windows where and then for me to put something bright and something to attract the attention on the logo of the window just kind of looks ugly also, I understand it's a sign on the side there, but it's just something that it's much easier for people when they come around that corner to be like, now I know where it is, instead of having to get up and go to door and finally figure it out. And listen, at some point they'll find it, but new patients will have a hard time and, it's just difficult. So we just wanted to figure out a way to make it simple enough in the hardest corner of the building, which has the least amount of visibility, for people to be able to walk up and just know exactly where it is.
Was there any consideration since if you were to take the sign and put it on the window, right underneath it, there's a door, and then beside it, there's two windows. You could put a big sign on the inside of the window.
I mean, we could. The one thing that we love about the office itself is when, that's our waiting room right there. So when you come in, you're coming into the reception area of the practice, and the windows are beautiful. It's a lot of natural light coming in there, and you throw a big sign in there, and it's just, you can't see through it. You can't see outside. So it just, from the inside, I think it loses a lot of what you're trying to do architecturally in the building. So so that was, and then again, there's decals and stuff you can put on there, but then I don't want to cheapen the building too much on the windows and just throw up stuff like that on there either.
No, but they do make signs that can be put on windows from the inside that it looks like a sign from the outside, but from the inside you can see out.
I don't know anything about those, but so.
What about the possibility of a ground sign?
A ground sign?
So when you turn the corner, it would be perpendicular to the building, you'd see it right away, right on the edge of the sidewalk. I'm just throwing all ideas out.
No, I had the same thought, but I think that may be not much better, and I think ruin a little bit of your world. And is there parking, or is that not parking at
So
that
there,
curve?
there is parking along the side of that's the south part of the building. Mm-hmm. So there's single spots down and there is and there's a kidney dialysis place up next to it that's pretty big, but their entrance is on the other part of the building. So you pretty much have to either come around our side or go along the back, and then you're literally walking from the eastern part around to the southern part, and then looking around to try to figure out where the building is. And it's a little bit of a walk. I mean, to try to
Doctor used
find.
to be over there, where you're going.
Yeah, exactly. Northwest. They're at the building next door now.
Are you the only, is that the only business on the south side now? That only
It's the only business with access to.
On the south side.
Yes.
Okay.
It's pretty long, it's a big piece of, big piece of.
I mean, we're 7,300 square feet in our place, so, and the property itself has got Illinois Bone and Joint, and there's a lot of big,
Property.
big businesses in there, square footage wise too,
I,
so.
I see what you're saying, but I mean,
It is an issue, it's a problem, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was one of the reasons,
sign is, the problem with the ground sign, as soon as there's cars parked in front of you, you're not gonna see the ground sign.
That's
Yeah,
right, because
right,
there's parking
yeah.
all along there.
If there's any
mean-
bush, and we don't know what the landscape looks like, then you're gonna kill the
Downside
landscape.
here.
It's pretty low. It's-
Yeah, but I'm saying you're going like in front of the landscape. I don't know if there's,
Oh, yeah,
There's no sidewalk along in front of the windows, if I remember
Yeah.
right. It's just the entrance
I
of
think
the
they're saying
doorways
from-
and
that's
it.
correct.
Yeah.
so is your or your space all from that column to the
So
right?
it's the column all the way to the right, to the end of the building there.
Yeah.
So,
you're that whole corner.
on that whole corner there, yes, and then the rest of it is that dialysis part, I believe.
So there's really only a couple tenants that really access from the outside, right? Aren't most of them off an interior corridor on that building, or not?
Some of them are.
I don't know, because I've only been to my space, so I don't know anything really about this.
Big hallway with the skylight that runs all the way.
Oh,
down,
there is?
Ends on that sculpture at the other end of the building. It's pretty nice. But with that, I don't know if that big operation that was in the front a couple of years ago before COVID, where they had 300 or 400 people in there answering emergency phone calls, I think they're gone. But
I think they're still there, but they let people work from home, so they don't have nearly as many people in
Oh,
there.
okay.
The Fresenius call center.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we had to okay smoking stations for them outside because they were, it was a traumatic job that they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, I can understand that one,
That's
very much so.
Mike, can you go back to the picture?
Sure.
So if we approve this,
So we can see the building?
Sure.
how many other and I would say this, I don't know who the architect was, but I don't think like this is the award-winning building that we can't, violate a little bit. Maybe, was it you?
No,
Okay. You looked at me like I did that. You know what I'm saying? It's a dated building. It's very nice.
It's not an award winner, I agree, but
No.
it's not the word, it doesn't get a zero either.
It doesn't get, no, I'm just saying I don't think it's bastardizing the intent of the building by having a sign on it. I mean, we have signs on all of our buildings. It's a tough one for us because we're setting a precedence.
that's
But-
kind of my point.
I totally understand that too. I'm not, and I think it's up to the landlord to, again, we tried to go something concise and small and very specific to our logo and something that we've had in this community now since I started this practice in 2007. To just, again, this is more for, it's not like you can see this from Waukegan Road. It's not like one of those, glitzy signs that, oh my God, there's Forest North Dental. It's more for a directional place when somebody comes around that corner and sees 3 different doors,
Yeah.
they know
No.
which one to go to.
Sure. Yep.
So,
What I see as a possibility that I'm intrigued by the ground sign idea.
Well, except it's parking all along there,
Yeah.
on both
Yeah, but
sides.
they're on the other side of the street.
It's parking there.
They're, the build,
Do you mind going to the
the
site
person
plan? I
standing there, the
appreciate it.
cars are behind the picture, not parked
Can you
next to it.
cursor over his area?
Yeah, so I'll zoom up, and so his
Yep.
entrance is right here.
yep, and all the spaces are opposite
They're
that.
all on the south edge here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the door we enter in, but yes, I'd like to, if I'm gonna put a ground sign or any kind of signage in, I'd like it over the entrance door, just so people know that, because then they have to walk from there, and then where that red line is, there, that's the entrance to where we would be somewhere, yep, I think that's the vicinity where that
Which is your entrance, is it this one?
no.
This one?
Yes, that's the confusing part, which is why we didn't get rid of that door because that would have done exterior stuff to the building. So it's just a locked off corridor that we don't use for anything.
Yeah.
An emergency exit, so to speak. So that would be the only, something that, again, we would be fine with if that is the case. Just something that is substantial enough so when somebody comes up and sees that sign, they know that there's our logo and there's something we can do with it. But, I mean,
So I think that would be an exemption to the sign code, because they probably already have 2 ground signs already, right?
Yeah.
That corner lot
Yeah.
building, yeah.
And then we're saying, okay, are we good with 5 ground signs? If we're worried about setting precedents,
I mean, I'm gonna lean more towards what's being proposed, because there is a logic to why
There's
it's
terrible
there.
logic to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a good logic to it.
No, I mean, just from
Yeah.
a business owner's perspective,
Yeah.
to be able to, I mean, that building is confusing. I've gone
It
there a
is.
number of
Yeah.
times, and where the heck am I going?
yeah.
it was almost one of the reasons why I didn't buy the building, why I didn't go to the space, because I said, if I'm gonna have to move, I merged with another practice in Westlake Forest, and we're putting these 2 practices together. So we have 2 different big practices coming in and trying to find this space. And I figure if I'm gonna do this for this is gonna be my last move. I am done building anything. I've had enough of it. But I figured my goal in life was to finally find a space that had like frontage on a main street like Waukegan, that you could get a great sign and do that. And there is no place like that around here. And this was so hidden that I almost walked away from it. But cost-wise and everything, it was by far the best opportunity for me, and it's in such a great area that's developed so nicely around there with Target and Heinen's and lots of restaurants. So even for my team to be able to walk across the street and get food during lunch, it's odd. So it worked out terrific, and I'm really excited. Everyone's excited about it, including my patients. A bunch of them, I know where that, but then you always have to start explaining. You have to go in, and it's like I'm sitting here doing sign language all day, trying to get people to know where that is.
Well, and you're right, though. You said once people find it, the second time they'll be okay.
Yeah, for sure. But, that's, 5,000 patients in our practice, and then lots of new ones every month that come in as new patients. So it's a lot. There's always going to be new people doing that every single month that are coming in anew. So it's not something that, it's going to be one time for everyone, but that place is going to continue to grow.
Well, let me back up. I wasn't saying we shouldn't do it. I'm just bringing the point up that this is what the building is.
No, yeah,
Get it?
And it doesn't really have that many tenants in it.
yeah. What if we, like, to the gentleman's point about maybe the background is not white, maybe we do something a little more, little subtler. Then, is this kind of your logo? Is this?
That is
your
my logo.
Pure with the white and all that?
Yep, not the white,
Yeah.
they have that on the background there, but the green, it was in putting it out there, it's hard to see the logo on that brick
Yeah.
when you don't have anything there.
Is this, so it's not illuminated, right?
They won't allow illumination there,
Yeah.
so that was not an
Okay,
option.
so that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay, I was more worried about all that, so.
Yep, there was we're not allowed to take lights and shine it up to it or anything like that, so it's just gonna be there, as a beacon, so to speak, a location beacon.
Yeah, and I don't know what authority we have to say no to this if the landlord's gonna allow it.
We don't.
Okay.
That's why it's kind
We're
of-
just throwing,
I'm just throwing it
Okay.
out
Okay.
this is,
I know,
Yeah.
but we have signs on prettier buildings, is all I'm saying.
And we want to, certainly my office wants to respect, obviously,
Yeah, I
all
know.
the stuff,
Right.
I understand, I live in Highland Park, I had my practice here for a long time, I get it, I want this space to stay beautiful and all those kind of things. I also come from the business side of this, and I understand when so many of my patients, I've literally had the sign showing that building and everything, and every time you have to still walk them through the Google map to try to make them understand where that is.
Yep.
You'll still have that problem.
100%, I will, 100%. But at least I can say, look up and look for the sign when you get to it. Whereas, right now it will be the only sign on there. It may not be going forward, but,
Yeah.
at least if they can
the
keep it.
only sign on that side.
Yeah.
Well, for sure. And it will be the only one on there because there's no other tenants.
Yeah.
So,
Everything to the west of you, is that still vacant? The units are empty, or is it access?
so to the west of me, I believe that's the dialysis or the kidney center or whatever that is there. I think they're still in there.
But they're not accessible from that side.
I don't think so.
They have to be accessed.
Inside, I think it's that inside. I've never been in there, but it's that the only people that can get in, so if you park on, I don't know if you want to throw that building back up, I can kind of show you that. So where my lot is, down here, so you would obviously, you come in, on the spot over here. There is a, on the building itself, there is these, like a garage where you can pull trucks in and unload them at the unloading dock. And then back here, there is a door with like a combo on it that my team can enter from the back. We have an entrance into our space from here, and the other place has an entrance over here also. So like, I think in the back, like team members can come in that way,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
patients.
Yeah.
So we have our own private entrance into that. Yeah, it is really nice, but we're not putting the signage there because it wouldn't make any sense, because then you still have to figure out where you are. So I'm not even trying to put it on the side, on the eastern side, where you'll get the most traffic of anybody coming through. So if I wanted to do it to get patients to be like, ooh, there's a dentist, because there's another dentist in here, by the way. There's, John Lee is in there, as he's a dentist also. So I'm not trying to take that kind of business away. All I want to do is create a beacon for that, for patients coming around the corner to know exactly where we are.
Yeah, to answer your question, I think the whole Waukegan Road side is the Fresenius Call Center, so that's really only employees
what
and
it
no
was, yeah.
customers. And then the Fresenius dialysis place is up in that northeast corner. And then the other spaces are just small, like the other dentist, are just small spaces off the interior corridor. So there's really only one other place that gets customers that, from the outside, other than the
Interesting.
corridor, which
And
is the
that's Illinois
dialysis
Bone, which goes in the
over
main.
in the
Yeah.
northeast
one.
corner. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with this. I think, it
Yeah.
makes
No,
everything
sign
the
is
same.
fine.
It's like,
Yeah.
you just gotta do
But
it,
just
so,
okay.
yeah.
The only thing I wonder is, we talked about, is whether the white is a little bit too stark, whether it was a gray or something that would, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the problem is, I think, reading the other, if the black and the green are the,
Yeah.
kind of the trademark, then I think that contrast is not
Use
good
another
enough.
color in there, it's gonna get
Yeah,
kinda.
I think,
It's gonna get muddy.
yeah, I was just,
Say, you
if-
gotta kinda
Yeah.
keep it. I'm down, I'm fine with it, so
Okay,
that's where I stand.
okay.
yep,
We go around in circles here.
it's a good, we got back to where we started.
You should come to my house for dinner, you'd see the same thing. It's great.
All right, so somebody need to make a motion.
I'll make the motion. Motion to, approve as submitted.
I second.
Okay, roll call?
Okay, Member Dahlman,
Aye.
Member Deegan,
Aye.
Member Kerouac,
Aye.
and Chair Hunter.
All right.
Okay, motion passes, it's approved.
Much appreciated, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Welcome to Lake Bluff.
Yeah, I've looked forward to it, actually,
Yeah.
really very much so.
Great.
I'll see you
Thank
soon.
you.
Okay, you see me at the 28th.
You're just gonna miss the new building. You guys have a great one, take care now.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
I used to go to well, no, I can't talk about that.
Yeah.
What's next? We got
Yep.
anything going?
Nothing, I just wanted to
this-
point out
yeah.
that Paul Witt sent us a letter and
Oh,
sent
that's
us,
so
he
great.
did sketches of us while he was sitting in the audience.
I
here a
couldn't
couple
believe
meetings
that.
ago.
Like
I
it's
sketched
a
myself in since I wasn't
Old,
there.
old school reporter.
I looked very tall and good looking, so just so you know, Mike.
So, do you know what the status is of the, yeah, I got some questions. The status is of the bridge.
Yeah, I really
Yeah,
haven't
right?
heard much
How the
of
hell is
the
that?
details on that, but they're working on getting it ordered, I think, and
Well, we
hoping
haven't seen
it'll.
any shop drawings or anything yet?
I haven't seen any. I've not talked to Jeff Hansen about it.
Okay, well, maybe I'll give Jeff a little jingle and just to make sure that,
Yeah.
because they haven't gotten a lot of stuff right, over the time we've been dealing with this.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah. And then, I don't know, when we're gonna start when are you gonna start the support issues? They're doing all that work.
The support
Well, to hold the
issues.
bridge up, the end walls.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I would imagine in the fall before the bridge arrives, of
Okay.
course, yeah.
The other thing is, they're moving a pretty good rate down on the beach,
Uh-huh.
but they had not, unless you've seen it now, they hadn't presented the rest of the building. Have they got it now?
Right, I have not seen anything from them, but that is a good point. I will ask them about
Because,
that.
we had some suggestions to make when they were in here before, and I
Right.
just want to make sure that those get done.
Yep, and done on time too, yep, I will follow up with them on that.
So interestingly enough, all of the racers from the yacht club are up at the Navy base.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, really? Okay.
They all had to sign in, you gotta fill out a form, giving your first child and all that kind of stuff. But that's where they went.
Oh, that's great that they found a
So it's
place.
great, yeah, it really
Yeah.
is. It's close. And
The Navy base has been closed down for a lot of years, right? Before
I have
9/11,
my
they
boat
used
there.
to. Oh, yeah?
I've had my boat there for 3 years.
Yeah,
Oh, you have
okay.
it there?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I had my boat, I had 3 boats there over,
really.
over many years.
It's a shame. That place it's been neglected. It's not, it's not what it could be.
It's not
it's
what it
like-
was. I mean, when I
I'm sure
first
it
went
was-
in there, it was
yes.
really cool.
Yeah, it's just kind of sad.
Yeah, they haven't dredged it. I mean, you can see
Ah, it's-
land now where there's,
Yeah,
right
it's
where my
like, come
boat
on.
used to sit.
It's a bummer, but it's
it's a
really
good place.
convenient if you can get the
Yeah.
clearances. Yeah,
Okay, well, that's it then.
cool.
So,
Move to adjourn?
gotta join.
Second,
All in favor?
All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
aye.
Okay.
Thanks.
so let me tell
no
you about, we,
Turn this off.